Howdy, y'all. Day numero 80.
80. We need a celebration. We
80
need, like,
on the Carnivore.
confetti coming down.
So we're gonna. Matt was. So some really good. A good update for anybody that's been following. Matt had a really nasty, ugly sounding something with his shoulder, and for all of y'all that know that his labrum's been reconstructed, and
2 years ago.
2 years ago, and so he was swimming in the pool. He did like a breaststroke move, and it was a bunch of cracking and popping and terrible stuff. And he has, 5 or 6 sutures kind of holding his shoulder together. And we were praying for the best, but
Yes.
didn't quite know what to expect because of the pain and whatnot. And then he needed a special MRI done with a dye test. And when they went to inject the dye, his shoulder spasmed out. They couldn't get the dye in there. So he got a regular MRI and a CAT scan. Well, the good news is that the previous reconstruction, everything's good. All the sutures are in place. For whatever reason, a small piece of cartilage broke off, or it could have been floating around in there. And so he does need to get that cleaned out. So that's a huge praise the Lord. So we're very happy about that. We're just trying to schedule that surgery, but that's an awesome update.
Yes. So we had a busy week.
Yeah, so we had a busy week with like emergency rooms and
Doctor appointments.
orthopedic surgeons, multiple orthopedic surgeons, and imaging places, and in between, we live our life and do our stuff and do the things. And and Matt got his blood work back a couple days ago, so he was a solid 70 days in on Carnivore, and his blood work. Now I realize he's a young feller, but his blood work is absolutely perfect, like in every category.
Yes.
Cholesterol, triglycerides, and then all of the A1C and all those other creatins and.
Yeah, which is really cool. And you had your blood work done right before we went Carnivore, so that's cool. I didn't. I'd have to go by my blood work like 2 years ago, which it would be the same as right prior to. We ate so steady. For those of you who don't know, we're a family of 8 living on a farm, and we have been Whole Foods, for probably like 18 years.
Yeah.
But we've been Whole Foods, plant-based, heavily at different periods of time. And then when we moved down here 9 years ago, we reintroduced beef back into our diet, and because we have a neighbor at that time and he raised cows, and so we were able to get grass-fed beef, and so we reintroduced beef back into our diet. But we just kind of had it like the standard American family would have meat, just like a small amount or an equal amount as is the other portions on your plate. And then going back 80 days ago,
myplate.gov.
We just did this crazy thing and just jumped in the deep end with Carnivore. I just say jumped in the deep end because in some ways we did, and then in a couple ways we kind of walked into the pool slowly. And I say that because we kept a couple things right like at the beginning. The first month or so, we kept berries, blueberries and strawberries, which I still have in the freezer, and offer them to my little kids. And then we also, I offered green beans just like for the first, week or two, and then nobody was eating them. And I kept saying, like, every night, does anybody want green beans? And then everybody was like, no. So I just stopped dragging out the green beans because it just was silly. But so anyway, 80 days in, and we've tried like different things at this point. We added back in butter because we are dairy free as well.
dairy free, yeah, and we were already gluten free.
And we were already gluten free because of past health issues that we had. So I think the addition of butter as a whole has been really, really good. And I think we're going to hold on to that for right now. I also introduced for the
It's
first
weird.
time.
Nobody's in the comments. It's kind of bizarre. That's unusual.
Yeah. So I started buying big 7-pound buckets of tallow, and it's grass-fed, grass-finished tallow. And I add that into my coffee. You add that into your coffee every morning, like a lot. Like I do like 2 heaping tablespoons of tallow in my coffee. And then I just put a little bit of cinnamon and a little bit of vanilla in it and blends it up. Michael P.
Oh, there we go. Now we got some people in the comments.
So we're just excited. We need to go down the list of all of the benefits that we've experienced so far, just as a way, I think, to record it and keep a record of it, because they say that it takes about 3 to 4 years to really get through all of your
to
past
detox and to nutrify yourself.
Yeah. So they say you'll keep experiencing benefits up to like 3 or 4 years in. It literally takes that much time for a lot of things that is in your body to flush out of your body. So we're just newbies, y'all. We're just 80 days in. And we did come from Whole Foods, highly plant-based, very whole foods, non-processed foods, pantry.
Yes, yeah.
Pantry eating is basically what we've done for the last 9 years, but the last 5 years heavily has been whole foods, plant-based, with the exception of our beef. But this is just that change. That's like the most fascinating thing to me, because we didn't come from an American Standard diet.
Right, exactly.
And
That's the point that I like to make.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's not like we're eating the sad, we weren't. We were, and what was kind of clarion for me is, when you're trying to eat healthy and you're not like morbidly obese or anything, and you're relatively active. Now, my shoulder and neck and back issues have dramatically hampered me physically from, I used to exercise 5-6 days a week, but when you're eating relatively well and drinking filtered water and doing all the things, right, you're like, and then when you just still feel tired and beat and still are taking allergy medicine every day, and and not sleeping well and all these different things, and then when you change your diet and all of that changes, and you're like, well, wait a minute, I thought I was eating healthy and and we were doing well, and then I immediately, within the first 30 days, I dropped 10 pounds, but now that my exercise is coming back and my shoulder's getting better, and I'm still not even exercising a lot. I'm just doing like, I try to do sets of 40 push-ups, and I try to do a couple hundred a day. So like maybe 5 sets of 40.
And how many push-ups could you do before going carnivore?
0.
He could not do 1 push-up.
I couldn't do a girl push-up.
Not even a girl push-up.
Yeah. So
now he's up to how many a day?
A couple hundred, say 200 or so. Sets of 30 or 40. I can do 43 right now in a row, and feel great. And so immediately I had lost about 10 pounds. So I went from 167 to 157.
You haven't weighed yourself lately.
Yeah, and I used to be a super meathead, and I used to weigh a lot more and had very little body fat. But
what's amazing, I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second, because I did tell my girlfriend this today, that I'm literally watching his body go back to like when he was 30 years old. Like literally, I know y'all can't tell, and we're Christians, and we're going to keep our clothes on.
We're not going to show you.
we're gonna keep our clothes on, but my husband's body, like his chest, his torso, his legs, from the back, everything is reverting back. Like I'm literally watching his body age backwards, like in fast speed.
The one thing
Like,
that
it's
I
crazy.
wish, they're saying it's hard to hear you for some reason, but you're right there. Don't talk. You just got to talk into the microphone, though. Don't turn your face away from the microphone. That's why they can't hear you.
Okay.
You got to have it like up in your grill, like me. Then you don't have to talk loud at all.
So close to my face.
Lady. The one thing I wish I did, not to be immodest or anything, but if you could have seen my shoulder, it looked like it was literally wasting away. It was skin and bones. You know, it was really.
It was like
sad.
It was like
It was like a bone, and the skin was like barely.
It was so bad.
It was gross. It was
and now
rough.
It's like you can still tell with his shirt off that something is wrong with his shoulder, which something is wrong with that shoulder. It's been reconstructed, and it's just really, really
the
bad.
muscle size, the muscle's coming back. Well, another thing is with the bicep tendinosis, you know, the bicep no longer connects like up here, so it connects. So that's going to change the shape.
Your
too.
whole chest and your shoulders and this whole part. I mean, everything went from, you know, we're in our late 40s, so our bodies were looking like they were migrating towards, you know, the old people body.
Yeah, and you
look.
chalk it up to like, oh well, this is kind of the way it is.
Just the way it is.
Yeah.
Okay, my body's turned into an old lady body. Like, I guess that's just how it is. And now it's just like, now, y'all, I had 6 children, so mine's taken some time. But
Thank you, mommy.
his is like.
I had 6 children too, by the way.
It's like in fast motion. Like, I just can't believe it. Every time, it's just amazing. So that's just cool to see on the outside, is not just the numbers on the scale, but literally seeing his body transform before my eyes, and mine too.
Yeah, without exercise, y'all. I'm, you know, granted, I'm doing push-ups, but I mean, before, right, when my shoulder was so jacked up, I was running on the treadmill and everything.
We were both
because
on the
I couldn't,
treadmill,
you know,
like
I couldn't
constantly.
do anything else. Yeah.
And I was like halfway starving myself. I was 30 pounds overweight at least all the time. And I had to starve myself, like eat one meal a day, like salad and like a can of just tuna fish on top of it with no mayo or anything. And that would be my only meal. And then I was fasting several days in a row, just water fasting. And still, I could barely get my weight to budge, even with heavy exercise. And this, I mean, I dropped that 30 pounds this time like nothing. Like, I was not hungry. I was not exercising. I wasn't doing anything. And I just dropped the weight.
You know, this was, you know, and I've always been, one, I've always been very active. 2, I've always been really into fitness and nutrition and diet. And this is the same thing that I used to say with Atkins, is a high-fat, meat-based diet shatters the calorie myth. This was the debate I had in college with my professor. But this shatters the calorie myth. Calories are irrelevant when it comes to weight maintenance, muscle maintenance, and all these different things. Because I have even, you know, with the addition of adding back in butter and then ramping up the tallow. Now I do a teaspoon of our honey in my coffee in the morning, and sometimes when I get home, I might have a half a cup of coffee. In the morning, my breakfast is coffee and 4 raw eggs and tallow and butter and
A fatty latte.
yeah, and that's what I have. I drink that in the morning, usually around 5, and then we eat dinner around 6 o'clock. So that's what I eat in a day. I'm essentially eating one meal with those 5 eggs. But with the, and then another thing I did is I bought a real huge block of butter for the office. So every now and then I might have an espresso with like a half a stick of butter in it.
That's good.
At work, you know, to get me through.
Do you sweeten it with anything?
Honey. I always use honey.
At work.
It just cuts the bitter part out so that
I like the bitter.
Yeah. She's bitter, yeah.
I like the bitter. Yeah. So so you're adding in a teaspoon of honey to your coffee, and then you're having about how much meat do you have for your dinner?
I have about between 1 and 2 pounds, just depending on what I did that day.
Okay.
Tonight I had 2 burgers, so it was probably less than a pound.
Yeah. Okay.
The more fat there is in the meat, the more of it I can eat. The leaner it is, it's just harder. It goes down hard.
The more fat.
Lean meat just goes down hard.
Yeah, the fattier the meat, the better. We've been eating a lot of ribeyes.
Yeah.
It's been really cool because all of our children are on board, and
Yeah,
so
it's really great.
so they are experiencing all different types of benefits as well. And I can just tell hormonally, I had so much acne on my back. I never had acne on my back before, even through being a teenager and everything like that. But for the past, at least year, I had cystic acne on my back, on my shoulders. It was painful. And I knew my hormones were out of whack. My cycles were just all sporadic and all over the place and several times a month and just problematic. And as soon as we started the carnivore diet, within that first month, I got my cycle. It was just like clockwork. It's just a few days now, and it's normal. And then all of the acne on my back went away. My skin on my face is clearer and softer than it's ever been. I always had trouble with my skin my whole entire life, and that has all gone away and cleared up. All my inflammation is gone. Just in my hands, remember I was.
That's the first place you're going to notice it. That
like,
your hands just
look at my
de-swell.
Yeah.
That's the other thing that you'll notice as you're talking to other people. You're going to notice how swollen their hands are and how swollen their head is, and that's a really obvious way to see how ill health somebody is. And I mean, like we were saying, we weren't really in ill health, but, my hands are totally back to normal.
Yeah.
And it's real interesting because there for quite a while, I was still getting kind of like a tennis elbow in this bad arm, and it was real peculiar, but I haven't noticed that now for probably about 10 days. Because remember when I was doing my push-ups and I'm like, man, the weird thing is I still got this tennis elbow, but I think it's the butter has finally lubricated that joint. I think.
Definitely.
We added the butter. Right?
The fat makes all the difference in the world. And Shelly's saying that I'm thinking my son isn't eating enough protein or meat. We're going to throw this up here, Shelly. Y'all just please interject as much as possible.
And honestly, for weight loss, if you want the weight loss, up the fat.
Yes, up the fat.
The key is going to be on the fat on this one.
If you and there's all kinds of doctors out there. Dr. Barry's awesome. I listen to Kelly Hogan. She's not a doctor, but I listen to her a lot.
I really enjoy Paul Saladino, and if you're high performance, I think there's a lot to adding in the fruit and the honey.
Yeah, but
it
most
definitely
of us
helps
are
me.
not high performance. Right. Most of us, if we live in America, we're not high performance. But if your son is high performance, but also Dr. Baker is very high performance. He's pretty intense. And they all have groups too, Shelly, for your son. I would highly recommend find a group and get involved with a group. I know Steak and Butter Girl. He
definitely wouldn't have to eat more than 2 pounds of beef a day. I mean, that's a lot.
And sometimes they're saying with different people that you have to be careful of eating too much protein, and it's everybody's body processes protein differently. And if you're eating more protein than what you actually need, your body is just going to convert all of that excess protein back into sugar. So you can kind of defeat your own purpose if you're overeating. And that's something that I realized this week, even actually the last 2 weeks, I've noticed that in myself that I have been overeating. And I think that's what has caused me some of my trouble.
Faith is a very extreme person, y'all. She does everything extremely.
I married Extreme, Mr. Extreme himself. So, yes. So, in the beginning, like Dr. Barry says, eat when you're hungry, eat until you're comfortably stuffed. Dr. Chafee says the same thing. Just eat very intuitively. When you're hungry, eat as much as you want until you are comfortably stuffed.
Shelly, your son's 26. How tall is he and how much does he weigh?
I want to pop up Grace Kylie right here. Hubby dropped 100 pounds that way, but intuitively fasted too. He's not a kiddo though. Not sure on your son's age and how comfortably.
And I know with guys,
feel
you'll naturally fast because you're going to
Yes.
eat and then just not eat until you're hungry. You know,
Absolutely. And I think
women are a little different.
I naturally fast anyway. I think that you will kind of come into.
Whoa, 350.
I think
Okay.
you're just going to come
Yeah,
into your own.
11.
And it's
He's a
going,
big old boy.
and it's gonna take
Big old country
time.
boy.
You know, Dr. Chafee says if it took you 20 years to walk into the woods,
Yeah.
you're not gonna walk out of the woods in 30 days. Okay, it's probably gonna take you 10 or 15 years to get out of the woods. Not saying literally. Okay, it's not gonna take that long, but just you can't expect quick fixes overnight, and you don't want a quick fix overnight. What you want is a slow and steady dropping of the weight, improving of your health. You want something that's very
Yeah,
gradual.
and he probably wants to be around 200 pounds. He probably is going to want to drop 150 or so.
Yeah, sure. So it's going to take some time.
And it'll totally happen. I mean,
Yes.
as long as you're not cheating. What'll mess you up is the cheating part. And that's one of the reasons why you have to eat till you're full.
Yes.
And then you can't ever go anywhere. He's not fasting. Okay.
That's fine.
But
Yep.
yeah, an eating window will accelerate that. So if he does an intermittent fasting with like a 4-hour window, it's going to, and that's what's kind of like the neat part is continuing to tweak it
Yes.
till you get optimal. I mean, that way, that's the most encouraging part. You're seeing the most results. And really all it means is sometimes just like, oh, well, you know what? I'm going to wait 2 more hours to eat. You know what I mean? So, yeah, and any kind of seed oils are just, they're killing all of us. The seed oils, honestly, if you eliminate the seed oils, the tragedy with keto is they've created all this fake processed keto stuff, and they're using it with keto principles, but it's still factory food. It's still plant-based,
Yes.
you know what I mean, in the sense that it comes from a
Processed.
processed plant. And, that junk's just going to kill you regardless.
Absolutely. So just slow and steady wins the race. And don't torture yourself. Here's the thing, Shelly, it's not worth torturing yourself. So don't force a fast. I wouldn't force anything. I would just eat when you're hungry.
It's going to naturally happen.
Eat until you're comfortably full. You can play around with the protein. You can play around with the fat, and try tallow. Try adding butter. See the different ways that maybe if you add more butter into the day, then you can decrease the amount of protein that you're going to have. But none of this is torturous. It's not meant to be torturous. It's meant to be very simplistic. The whole beauty of carnivore is that it's very highly simplistic diet. Even ketovore or keto, you're just ketovore is basically 3/4 of your plate is meat with a little tiny bit of vegetable and a little tiny of low carb vegetable.
I
and
reject
some berries.
vegetables. I believe that your beef probably is too lean. We're changing our herd up just to up the fat content. So we're taking radical changes even to the cows we're raising to add this fat back in, because we just seen that. And what we're doing, we're also, the cows that we're working with our community to procure and sell, we're making sure that there's a reasonable amount of, now we do have for ourselves, for our personal, we have 1 or 2 longhorns that we're going to put in the freezer just because
Well, it's going to take time for us to
Yeah.
phase out some of the longhorns and then phase in some of the beef breeds. And we're still looking at different beef breeds and what is optimal for what we want, for the end product of what we want. So, oh, yes, I do, Jessica, have my own channel, and I've been kind of on a hiatus from my channel for the last couple weeks, so y'all got to forgive me, but it's TheTexasGirls.com if you want to check over there. I did a 30-day challenge for myself, but I have not completed it yet because that's
real nice. She was also asking the quick rules of carnivore. It's just a meat and fat-based diet where you're eating
And eggs.
Yes, yeah. Eggs. Yeah, so eggs, meat, and fat, fatty meat, butter,
animal products,
and with the exclusion of all the carbohydrates and any kind of oils and any kind of processed anything. So,
yes.
and that's it.
And so I was just saying hormonally, right? So all of my acne cleared up on my back within the first 2 weeks, just dried up and went away. All my skin problems on my face dried up, everything. It's just like my skin is nice and soft now. It's just all the inflammation is gone, and I'm just literally watching my body change shape and go in directions that I just had no idea. Like I said, I had 6 babies and I'm 45 years old. I just had no idea that it was even possible. So the other thing that I implemented just in the past couple weeks, thanks to Kelly Hogan, was she said, every time you eat, go move, even if it's just a 5-minute walk. This could be something helpful for your son, Shelly. Just a 5-minute walk, a 10-minute walk, whatever you can do. Just go outside. It's like a sauna, y'all. If you're in Texas, it's like a natural sauna outside right now. Just go outside and walk for 5 minutes, or go jump on a treadmill, or if you have an exercise bike or something, do 5 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever you can do. Do the best you can do, but eat and then move. Don't eat and go sit, So I've been working on that and trying to implement that every time when I get done eating, I go for a little walk outside, and I've worked up to like 20 minutes, even a half an hour. I started out with just a 5-minute challenge, and I just watch something on my phone or listen to something and just walk around the yard. I have my electrolytes, and that's been really helpful as well. But I did notice this week that for me, the carnivore diet is very, very simplistic, y'all. But I think that I'm overeating. When I started to look at just how much meat I was eating for lunch and for dinner, I was way over 2 pounds of meat a day that I was eating. And you can overdo it on protein if a lot of things come into factor, but for me, I'm more than a middle-aged woman, and I don't have a super athletic life, and just all different things come into play there, hormones, all of those things. So for me, I don't necessarily need to be eating, 2 or 2.5 pounds of meat a day. So that's going to backfire on me and turn back into sugar, and I'm going to be kind of fighting against myself. So I need to up the fat and maybe cut back down on some of my meat intake. So that's what I'm working on. I don't really have it all figured out yet, but it's kind of the fun of the game is learning these things.
Yeah, keep tweaking it.
Yeah, and just to keep
like
tweaking
Shelly
it.
says about eliminating the dairy. I would definitely try that. Eliminate the dairy. I think you'll
That's
be
huge.
I think you'll be fascinated if you eliminate the dairy. You'll watch the
Huge.
inflammation drop.
Huge. A lot of people, once they take out the dairy and take out the cheese, You're just
Uh-oh.
the liquid
Blue
dairy.
Diamond started his carnivore on Thursday. Go Blue Diamond.
Yay!
I remember you, Bill. We met at the Exit and Build Land Summit.
That's awesome.
That's awesome, buddy. I'm glad you're making the decision. You're going to tell your wife she's welcome, because you're going to continue to go from being, what are you, Bill, 50? You're going to be 40 before you know it, Bill. No.
We're all going to be aging backwards now, Bill. Yeah, so it's just great. It's great for our mental health. I mean, I think you can speak to my emotional
We
health.
can't talk about these things. Yeah, I mean, it's nice when you're not as hormonal and not as moody,
Yeah, it's
unstable.
true. I know you can't imagine
As
it, y'all.
Wata.
You cannot even imagine it, but yes.
It happens, y'all.
It happens.
It's real.
I'm a woman.
Don't go singing any songs now. Hey-oh.
So, yeah, I can feel it in myself that in times that I normally would have been stressed out, I would have had anxiety. I mean, y'all, my son just told me this week that he re-injured his shoulder and all that was going to entail, and surgery and all of those things. And
rough, y'all.
and you know, that's a very stressful situation, and you know how that impacts everything here on the farm and life, and plus just worried about him. And I just, you know, I mean, the Lord is good. I'm not giving the carnivore diet all the credit, but
No.
but it was a lot less, 99% less stress and anxiety than I would have come to that with if I had just been eating a high plant-based diet. I think the plants were just doing me a huge disservice, you know.
Permapasture in the house.
All right.
Sweet.
So,
Hey, I want to talk about this, having Blue Diamond Bill on here and influencing him. We had such an awesome week, you know, with the adversities we had this week.
Yes.
We had a really awesome week meeting y'all, you know, and not just y'all, but others in, you know, we mentioned it on one of our quick little videos today, but in addition to our meat pickup, you know, and getting to meet subscribers.
and my pantry emptying out project that's going on. I got to meet some people then too.
And we're meeting people, and then they're like, it's kind of funny because they're starstruck because they're meeting these YouTube personalities. And it's really kind of funny for us because, you know, y'all, we're sitting here in our house talking into microphones. And I mean, other than that, like we're just regular, ordinary people.
We're just excited.
And,
we're just as excited to meet y'all as you are to meet us, because we just feel like y'all are our community and our friends. So when we meet you in real life, we're just like,
it's really cool.
I'm like, hey, come on in. I'll show you what I got in my freezer. Do you need any extra pork? Hey, do you need anything out of the pantry? You know, and it's just really cool. So, I mean, this whole carnivore thing has just changed everything. I mean, our intensity, like the pressure of gardening. We met a couple today that were buying a kuni pig from us.
Yeah.
And the poor lady, you know, she was just like, I just think we're going to starve to death. You know, they were preppers. And she's like, I just think we're going to starve to death because, you know, we've been down here almost 7 years and I just still cannot. I have such a hard time trying to grow anything. And I said, well, what if you didn't have to grow a garden to survive? What if you just could survive on meat? And if you grow something, great. If you have a booming batch of cucumbers, awesome, make some pickles. But if you don't have to cry, you don't have to freak out, you don't have to worry about starving to death. That is like such a bondage.
And it's part of why our community is so important, because we can't really do it ourselves. It takes all of us working together.
Yeah, we need more people to raise cows.
Yeah, we need more people to raise cows. And it was the other funny thing that I just did is, you know, where we were selling our coonies on Craigslist, and some of the people that were buying from us were looking for boys, you know, and so we found an ad on Craigslist that says, if you're looking for coonies like the Texas boys, right? And they were like a couple towns over. So I called the Craigslist ad to prank them because we had already referred 2 people to them.
Sweetest
you know?
lady ever.
And so I said, hey, y'all the ones selling the coonies? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, well, you know, y'all are using our name, you know, and she wasn't getting the joke. You know, and I said, y'all are using our name to sell your pigs and all this stuff. And then we kept talking. And then as we're talking, I think she figured out what I was saying. She was like, wait a minute. Are y'all the Texas boys?
It took her a little bit to figure out.
And it was so funny. And we just got to talk for 30 or 40 minutes.
About
And
all
it was
kinds
so
of
great.
Yes.
And just, you know, all the things. And it's very interesting how everything comes together, you know, with our faith and our food and how interrelated everything is.
Absolutely.
And how all of these different people from all over, you know, the people that came to buy the pig today weren't from here. They were from very far away and they relocated. Right. And, you know, it's very interesting how all of this happens. And it's so neat to get to meet everybody, and that's why. And we're going to hopefully get to meet Perma Pasture Farms at the Mountain Readiness. Me and some of the boys are going to be there on October 19th and 20th, and I think we're driving back the 21st. We're going to do like a road trip. We were going to fly, but whoa, it was like $2,200. So I'm definitely not doing that.
Boys trip.
We're doing a boys over the road trip. And we're going to split it up, take turns driving. We'll be able to do it in record time. And rather than beat up the old minivan, we're going to probably rent a rental and put the miles on that, because our round trip's going to be like 1,900 miles. So it'll be fun, and we'll get to meet more y'all.
Yes. So I want to scroll up a little bit here, and then I'm going to just say a couple other things, benefits that I've noticed. One thing is I'm sleeping great. I'm not waking up several times a night like I was in the past. And when I wake up, I have energy. I feel like I'm alive. Before, it would take me from the time I woke up in the morning until like lunchtime or 1 o'clock to actually feel like I'm waking up. And I just kind of like walked around with my mug of coffee like a zombie until then. And the one thing that I did notice is, like my energy is just way more when I'm waking up. I'm awake. I'm ready to go for the day. I still have my coffee, but I'm engaged. I'm ready. I can go outside. I would just get anxiety even about going outside. I know my husband can attest to this, but like sometimes I would call him just so upset. Like I would go outside and I would just see all the things that needed to happen and go on. And I would just have massive like anxiety, and I don't want to say panic attacks, but kind of like my heart would start racing. I would just get so overwhelmed and so upset. I would just have to go back into the house, and I'm like, I'm just going to stay inside, because every time I go outside, I just get so upset about all of the projects, and I didn't have any energy to do anything.
Right, exactly.
So it was just like seeing all of those things that need to be done and knowing that I had no energy to do it. I just couldn't handle it. And then I would just get upset and say, I'm just going to stay in the house, you know. But it just really, really affected a lot the last several years. And I think, you know, my body was just lacking protein, good sources of protein like meat that you can actually, your body can easily digest and use. And then also it was lacking in fat. I was just eating so low fat because I wasn't eating a lot of meat at all. I mean, I would only eat meat like maybe once or twice a week, or just like a little tiny bit. And I wasn't a meat girl. I wasn't an eggs girl. I could not touch eggs. I could not smell eggs. I would never eat a steak in my life. Red meat, like maybe a hamburger a few times a year, but that was basically it. I just was not a meat person at all. So when I didn't even like bacon, y'all. I would say I like the smell of bacon, but I just don't like bacon. So I didn't like bacon, I didn't like eggs, and I didn't like red meat. And I'm like, how in the world am I going to do this carnivore diet? And butter, we were dairy free, so I didn't even have butter in the house. And I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I want to do it because I see that everybody's experiencing so many health benefits to it, and I just want to try it. So I literally had to force myself for the first couple weeks. To eat the steak or eat the hamburger, I would just have to like make myself do it, even though it wasn't like what I really wanted. But after a couple weeks, my taste buds totally changed, and now a steak is like, oh man, I'm eating too much of it. I have the opposite problem that I'm like, oh, I'll eat 3 ribeyes, And then I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Like, I probably don't need 3 ribeyes in a sitting, So I'm just trying to balance that out.
Good job.
Yeah.
But, Billy's teaching a class. Awesome. That is cool. So Billy's going to be teaching class. And then somebody had asked us up here, what type of cows? I would ask your local ranchers, but, I know that Herefords have good marbleization. That's what we did. We laced in a low line Hereford as our bull. Mm-hmm. So we want to mix in those genetics.
Basically, any of the beef breeds are made to be bigger, to be fattier. So you're going to be good with really any of the beef breeds. When we're looking at it more from a rancher perspective of do they have trouble with disease? Are they a breed that's going to need vaccinations? Because we're not going to do that. Are they a breed that have birthing issues and need interventions? We want to steer clear of that. Are they good mamas? Generally, as a breed, do they need assistance getting their calves to them, or are they just self-sufficient? We definitely want something like that. So we're just looking at it from a different perspective. But if you're looking just as a buyer of meat, any of the beef breeds are going to give you that good protein to fat ratio and a good yummy steak, which is what you want. Yeah.
Oh, and any of y'all on here that aren't subscribed to the Fearless podcast, please click the link down below. We've been getting a lot of traction lately, and our Amish farmer video has kind of taken off a little bit. So that's kind of neat when you just try to continue to create good content. And Matt's been kind of out of commission, so they haven't been doing any construction because it's kind of like God's timing, I guess, because he's been slightly laid up. He's been incapacitated, relatively speaking, here since he hurt himself. So
yeah, but he's not in pain.
No.
If he keeps his arm still, he's doing good. We should have a surgery date here probably Monday. We should have a surgery date, and it might even be this coming week. So that's been good. And he's been busy doing things. He just has to go at a slow putts.
And he just can't hustle and stuff. But yeah, the Longhorns, as far as they are too lean, because like what I've experienced is with eating burgers, if the burger meat is too lean, like if the burger meat has enough fat content in it, man, I could house some burgers. Mm-hmm. If it's too lean, it just goes down hard, y'all. It's just hard to eat. And so like the burgers I had tonight were very lean, so I had to put some pickles on them. So we have our own pickles from the garden.
What are you talking about? It was lean, so you had to put pickles.
Yeah,
pickles aren't fat, honey. But
I know
that lean. That wasn't lean.
It was lean. I'm telling you, lean? I ate it. Yeah.
I thought they were good burgers.
That one mixture we had, we got the butcher to do a 40%. I'm sorry. A 40, like a almost a half and half. They couldn't quite do half
I
and half.
cooked them in tallow to up it, and sometimes we even tried putting butter on top of the burgers to
Yeah,
just
it's
up
still,
that.
you know,
But there's certain when we have our own, and we processed a couple young, and they just didn't have a lot of fat on them.
yeah.
So we're trying to work towards all of the ones that we're having done now are bigger cows. They're like 1,000 pounds,
Yeah.
and they're more mature and they just have more fat. So that's gonna make a big difference.
It'll make a huge difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is kind of critical to what we're trying to do. And, that is obviously antithetical to the lamestream concept of, lean beef, lean meat,
Right.
lean,
Right.
chicken, chicken,
Right. And I do have a tip that if you are in the East Texas area, Crumps, if y'all haven't checked out Crumps, spelled with a K,
Crump.
Crumps is
Crumps.
a great place to stock up on your beef.
Linden.
In Linden, Crumps
Is in Linden.
and there might be other
Oh,
Crumps.
I
I'm
got to
not sure.
text. I got to text John
But
and see how. I'm going to text John.
They
right
do
now.
raise their own beef as well, and anyway, just a great place for inexpensive beef. Also, not for nothing, but Aldi's, y'all. My mom just started going carnivore, and my stepdad this week. We've had like so much excitement with all these different people, and so I just took some little screenshots of Aldi's, and they have ribeyes for like $7 a pound. They have more expensive ones too, but they have some cheaper ribeyes, and they have cheaper chuck roast for like $6 something a pound. So check out Aldi's if you're looking for cheaper.
Yeah,
meats.
Ryan from Against the Grain. That was his carnivore hack. Was the chuck steak, and he literally ate a chuck steak a day. That was his hack, and it was relatively inexpensive.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he did, and he lost 100 pounds in 7 months.
Yeah. Also, just your
And feels great.
local grocery stores. Go there when they're having discounts. Stock up. Buy stuff that they're discounting and throw it in the freezer, and you'll be good to go. But we were just really encouraging.
Oh yeah, Crumps shout out.
I love Crumps. That's
Yep,
awesome.
they gave the statement that they're going to keep our meat real and local.
I know.
Love it.
Yes, and if you follow them,
Thank you, Crumps.
on Facebook. I don't have Facebook.
We're not on Bookface.
But my friend is, and she said they just post some awesome stuff too. And I can tell you, with the new things that are going to be cinched down, maybe possibly in the next couple months, Crumps is not. I'll tell you right now, Crumps won't, because they are like, they're hardcore from what I understand. So
I love it.
so
Us hardcore people need to stick together.
check them out. If you don't have one of them, check out an Aldi's. Go buy some discount. You can still can it if you want to can, y'all, if you want to put stuff away, but get some freezers in place, especially with the things that are coming down the pike here. Get your freezers set up, get them stocked up, because you know what happens with the meat when the cinch down comes. We've been through this before, so get yourselves all ready and set up, and you'll be in good shape.
Yeah, and as soon as you can, find a farmer and buy local, because
if you can. If
some
it's
people
within your
can't.
budget.
So
And if it's not within your budget, don't feel bad.
just do what you can.
Do what you can do. Take care of your health first. You're totally worth it. And don't worry about the garden. I'll say it again. Don't worry about the garden. Don't worry about the garden. Plant some fruit trees. If they have fruit,
Yeesh.
praise the Lord. And if they don't have fruit, praise the Lord. You're going to be just fine on your meat. Don't worry about it, y'all. It's such a burden lifted to not have to be stressed out thinking that you have to grow a wheat field or a corn field or a bumper crop of whatever, fill in the blank, and then you got to can it all and do all that stuff. No, you don't. All you got to do is find a cow, okay? Find a cow, and then find another cow. And that's all you got to do, and just keep finding cows or sheep. if you know a farmer that
Yeah,
has
man, sheep are great, and if you if you have less acreage, sheep are great.
yeah, and sheep you can do it yourself.
Yeah,
It's
you
a
can butcher
smaller animal.
yourself, and they got a good fat ratio, and they taste great. Sheep are
Absolutely.
awesome. I wish I didn't kill all of our sheep.
We're not great sheep farmers.
I'm not a great sheep farmer yet.
We're gonna stick with cows. But anybody else have any?
But yeah, cows pound for pound, the simplicity of it is rather incredible.
Yes.
And we already had the infrastructure for it, and we're going to be working with our neighbor to lease more land to just
Yes.
have to at least double or preferably triple the size of our herd.
Yes.
And then also, as we're continuing to sell, we'll be able to rotate in as we buy. And it's just going to make our logistics much easier. And the other farmers we're networking with, it's going to make that whole logistic process easier because we can kind of pass our cows around as they're coming through the maturation process and different things. And that's all part of this community. You got to, love your neighbor, work with your community. You can't do it on your own. We're not going to be able to do this, any of it. None of this. America didn't start by accident. It wasn't one guy's idea. A lot of people had to work together. A lot of people with a lot of different ideas. And I know some people want to exclusively demonize all that. I mean, God's hand was definitely in a lot of it. It's very interesting, the histrionics of it. And me and Billy from the Permaculture Pimpcast are probably going to be dropping a history series on y'all. It's going to be very interesting.
That sounds
So shameless plug for the Fearless Podcast and the Permaculture Pimpcast, where PIMP stands for Permaculture is my passion. So don't be offended. It is very enjoyable to listen to. I'm just saying. Very informative.
So let's just go down what we eat in a day and try to be helpful to all the people out there. You shared what you eat in a day. And so I'm going to share what I eat in a day, and then I can share what my kids eat in a day, and maybe that'll help some people out because it's very simplistic, which is the beauty of carnivore. And like I told my mom, like I've shared with other people who we've just recently met, and they're trying to maybe play around with it, I say it's not an all or nothing thing, okay? It's just like everything in life. It does not have to be all or nothing, right? If you do it halfway in the beginning, you don't have to be crazy like us. If you do it halfway in the beginning, you're still going to realize a lot of health benefits and just a lot of things you're going to realize that you didn't even know were things that you were even struggling with is the beauty of it. So what I eat in a day is first I start my morning with my coffee, and then I do 2 heaping tablespoons of my grass-fed, grass-finished tallow. I get a big 7-pound bucket of it from Amazon, and it's just amazing. I cook with it. I put it in my coffee.
It's amazing.
It's
amazing in the coffee, y'all.
Yeah, before that, I've had different other non-dairy things. My one son does butter in his coffee.
I do too.
You do some butter in your coffee, but I just do tallow in mine, and I love it. And I can't go back to anything else. I just have to have the tallow and a little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of vanilla, and that's it. That's what I have. A big thing of coffee in the morning, and then that's kind of my meal. That's my fatty latte meal. And then I fast until 1 o'clock. And then at 1 o'clock, I usually have my first meal of the day, which I've kind of been playing around with this to see what this looks like exactly, and I haven't quite figured it out yet. Usually I just have some kind of meat, but again, what I was finding is that I'm overeating at that point in the day, so I might just go to having some eggs, or just doing the egg yolks fried, because I did that one day and that was really good, just doing the egg yolks fried up, and it's fat then, And then for dinner, so from 1 o'clock to like 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening is my eating window. And that just naturally is how I've eaten for a long, long time anyway. And and then at dinner time, I eat whatever the family's eating. I try to have meats cooked up ahead of time. Like I'll do a whole bunch of roast and have that in the refrigerator, so we just have to reheat it. Or if I do hamburgers, I'll do a whole bunch of them, keep them in the refrigerator, so you can just grab them and reheat them as snacks, or heat them up in butter. They're really good like that, or tallow. And we were doing a lot of other types of meats, like we were doing a lot of ham and pork and things like that. But it's funny how your tastes change. We were doing a lot of sausage in the beginning, the first couple months, and then we're just kind of like, we just want beef right now. So
the beef sausage is incredible.
Yes, we have beef linked sausage from our cows, and it's amazing. It's amazing. So if you can get beef sausage, I highly recommend
Delicious.
it. So that's it. That's what our day kind of looks like. My little kids, they love that I make them up in the Ninja Creamy. If y'all don't have one, you need to get one. It's a little more expensive ice cream maker, but it's totally worth it. I'll tell you why. Because you can get all these little containers and you can pre-make all of your ice cream. And Dr. Kiltz, if you haven't checked him out, it's Kiltz, like the paint. Dr. Kiltz has a carnivore ice cream recipe.
The paint is Kills, no T.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
It's not
And
like the paint. We're not sponsored by Kills Paint.
I followed his recipe aside from the fact that I cannot find a good healthy source of heavy cream, so I just use heavy coconut cream instead of the dairy cream, because when you're looking for butter or heavy cream, you're looking for whole ingredients, just cream. You're not looking for all of the extra nasty things that they put in that. So make sure you're paying attention to that as well. And so it's heavy coconut cream and eggs from our chickens and vanilla. And I put that...
And honey, right? You sweeten it, right?
I put just a teaspoon of honey in it for them. And they love it. They eat that like every single day. And they also have berries like blueberries or strawberries, and I have like a keto powder that I use for them, and so it's just the frozen blueberries or frozen strawberries, a scoop of keto powder, and water in their smoothie.
It's kind of funny when you cut out all the carbs like that and you go to eat blueberries. And so one night I was, and I still eat figs and Asian pears. That's what's in right now. And so, sometimes I'll get like 5 or 6 figs a day, or maybe an Asian pear, or, we have all different kinds of pears that are coming on right now. But I got a little bowl of blueberries and I'm like, oh man, what kind of blueberries are these? They have to be coated in sugar, right? So I go back and get the bag and I'm like, these things are crazy sweet. Like, what kind of sugar? Is there like some kind of flavor enhance? What's on these things? And it was just blueberries. And I'm like, wow, that's wild. Because I keep eating them and I'm like, man, the flavor is kind of incredible when you're not dulled by having all the sweeteners and everything.
And the first couple months, our kids went through frozen blueberries like by the bowl full. Like it seemed like all day long until the night, to the point that you were like, I'm gonna read that in 1 second. Okay. Or you can read it in a second. But
okay.
To the point you were like, is this okay? Like they're eating a lot of frozen blueberries. And it was because the only sugar that they were having was the blueberries or strawberries. And so they were just eating it by the bowlful, like ravenous. And I said, it's okay. Just let them have it. And it only took like maybe a month or so. And it just kept cutting down to the point that the last month or more, they barely had them at all. They just added back in their smoothies.
A couple days ago, they started eating blueberries. They were eating some blueberries today,
Yeah, but it's just
but
like
nothing like they were
no, nothing like they were before.
housing them.
So give yourself grace, and this is what.
Yeah, and I'm kind of thoroughly convinced, we're doing carnivore because of the health benefits and we feel good, and it's a self-regulating mechanism because when you eat something crummy and you feel like trash, it's like, oh yeah. Because the other thing, it adds or it subtracts value, and so when you eat something and it makes you feel terrible, you're like, oh yeah, I felt terrible, and now that cheat is no longer worth it because you're like, yeah, that crap, it doesn't taste good enough for the side effects that I'm going to have, either the poor night's sleep or the trashy I'm going to feel. It's not worth it. It's got, and that's what, we talk about this stuff a lot, but I'm like, now a really super high end tiramisu, I'm probably going to do that. And that's totally worth it, y'all.
If
I
it's
mean,
like something
look,
special,
yeah, we're
even
not like
even Dr. Barry says
ascetic
hey,
monks.
when it's him and Nisha's anniversary and they enjoy a piece of cheesecake together, that's fine. He's like, I'm not gonna be like, wow, what's wrong?
Oh, somebody was just asking us for keto powder.
Oh yeah, I'll say that in a second.
Okay.
So yeah, he was saying, hey, if you're gonna enjoy something, you're gonna enjoy something for
Heck
an
yeah.
anniversary, or you're gonna, it's fine. They just went this summer and she ate some different things that were not necessarily carnivore, and then you just get back on track and reset. It's not like, oh well, I can't do this carnivore thing, I'm just a total failure, oh well, never mind. No, just get back on track.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Once your body's in a healthy state, and okay, so you take in something that's not that great for you, you bounce back very quickly. The key is to not dive back into it and wallow around in it. Right. But that's all part of the cheat, and the cheat, in my opinion, shouldn't even be a once a week thing. It should be an uncommon thing,
especially if you're in the beginning.
Yeah. But the common sense cowgirl says, my husband and I are starting carnivore tomorrow.
Woo,
because of us.
Yay.
And we raise alpines, australops, and longhorns.
That's awesome. Well, you can make your own ice cream.
Welcome to the herd.
You can make your own ice cream. So that would be awesome. I'm telling you, the Ninja ice cream maker, the Creamy.
The Ninja Creamy.
I even ordered extra cups of the little cups on Amazon. Doesn't have to be Ninja brand. And then I just make up a whole bunch of it and I put it in the freezer, and I just always have tons of it. And then I can just take out a little cup. It stirs it up for them, and I scoop it out, and they're just as happy.
Voila.
As can be. And it's a lot of eggs, y'all. It's super high protein, high fat, very, very little carb. I mean, it's just from the little bit of honey that's in it to sweeten it. You wouldn't have to do that. You could use a stevia sweetener. You could get all fancy and do whatever. We just have honey, so I just put a little honey in it. And that's what the kids love. So I was doing that, but then I don't know. I've just been tweaking things around. I was also doing a lot of the brown butter bites, and I still have them in the refrigerator. I'm just kind of playing around with.
If you want a Texas dad brown butter hack.
Okay. Yes, we all want that.
You have your wife make up these little brown butter treats, and you put them in the freezer, and then when you pop them out, when she's not looking, she can't hear me right now, y'all. I'm whispering. She can't hear me. You take some honey.
Yeah, that's not how you're supposed to have brown butter bites.
You drip some honey on the top.
He cheats.
And it tastes like caramel. And you sleep like a baby.
He's not that high intense.
I sleep like a baby.
He's not an athlete. Okay. Don't do that. That's a bad tip.
I'm a very high performance athlete.
No, he's
y'all.
not.
I sleep like a Ferrari race car.
Oh, my soul. Okay.
All right, y'all.
Yes.
Well,
so
we've been on here for an hour, Mom.
Yes. Can I link my Amazon store? I don't know if we actually have a store.
I
We're
mean,
not that
technically we do.
organized.
We have like affiliate links or something. We haven't used them in a very long
We need
time.
to
But
have an organized Amazon. You know what?
yeah, we need to organize.
I need to make Matt in charge of that while he's on desk jockey duty here for the next few weeks. So, yeah, that's what I got to do.
Somebody was asking about the keto powder.
Yeah, because the keto powder, I just use Sun Warrior, and it's their keto blend. They have Sun Warrior has a whole bunch of different ones, but I do the lean one, and honestly, you can get it for like a third of the price on eBay versus Amazon. So,
A third?
a third.
Wowzer.
It's like $48 on Amazon for the lean Sun Warrior powder. It comes in different flavors. We just like the vanilla. It's 15 grams of protein for 2 scoops. We only use 1 scoop, y'all. So it's 15 grams of protein.
I use
and
no scoops.
I think 6 or 7 grams of carbs for 2 scoops. We only use 1 scoop, so it's like nothing carbs and 0 sugar. It's just sweetened with organic stevia, but it just gives it a little bit of flavor. So I just do 1 scoop of that and like 3 cups of water, a bunch of frozen berries, and blend it up. And it just gives the kids or me something like the kids have it almost every day. They're back to having their smoothie again, which whatever. But me, I'm just kind of playing with it because we're doing the keto strips now. We got them. They're the Keto Mojo strips, and I'll try to
Keto Mojo.
get organized here on that too. But anyway.
Yeah, I can't prick my finger. I'm just not down with that. The really cool thing is when both times. So I took when we first got the strips because some people are sensitive even to stevia. So the different types of electrolytes we use. I really like the Dr. Berg one, and it's very cost effective.
Yeah.
We use the Dr. Berg. Everybody else likes the Relight, which we're actually affiliate partners on the Relight, but we never post the links anywhere.
Yeah.
But we have affiliate links for Relight. We're just terrible marketers, y'all.
The Relight is great. Some people like Elements because it comes in the little packets, but now
Element's way too sweet. I would prefer in this order. I would go Dr. Berg. Now nobody else likes the Dr. Berg, but I like the Dr. Berg. It's the least sweet. Is one of the reasons why I like it. I would go Dr. Berg. I would go Relight. They have lots of cool flavors, and then I would go Element last. Element's the most expensive, and it's the sweetest one.
Yeah.
And I'm just not.
And if you get the Relight in the cans, they have all different flavors. Right now we have like the berry flavor.
They have unflavored.
They have unflavored too.
I use that too. Yeah.
That's like you gotta be hardcore. But
Yeah, I'm hardcore. High performance
but
race
what
car.
Dr. Berry said he was doing half of a flavor scoop and half of the unflavored scoop for his drink. So he's trying to wean himself off of some of the flavor, I think, a little bit. But anyway, we have berry, there's watermelon, there's strawberry lemonade, there's
Yeah, see, look, somebody's saying Berg doesn't mix well, man. What is it with me and Berg? I really like his. Mine mixes
it's
okay.
not salty enough for me either, and it's not, I don't know, the flavor isn't on point to me, but the price is great. But the Relight in the can is half the price, y'all, of the Element pack. So if you do the price per ounce, you're getting double the amount of powder in the Relight can than you are in the Element packs. And I know you don't need electrolytes, but they do make your life pretty happy when you've dwindled everything down so much to just such a basic diet.
Yeah,
it really does
You
help.
definitely should, especially in the summertime. You definitely should be taking electrolytes regardless. I mean, and it's 113 here, y'all.
And you're not going to get magnesium from your food, so you have to supplement somewhere.
And that'll give you the Jimmy legs if you don't.
Oh, yeah.
You need the magnesium.
Definitely.
Or you get the Jimmy legs.
And the other thing that you've done is, in the past few days or month maybe, is, you talked about your butter at work. But how
Yes.
do you, so are you just like chunking off pieces of butter and just eating it too?
No, I make we have a little espresso machine, so I got some of our beans grind them, put them in the espresso machine. I do a double shot, and I take a half a stick of butter, plump it in there, stir it around, and then I take a teaspoon of honey, spin it, keep spinning it until it's fully emulsified, and then you knock it back, double shot.
Now, one thing
Yummy
that's
goodness.
awesome that the kids have been enjoying a lot, we invested in a waffle maker and a non-Teflon one, a ceramic coated
Thank you.
waffle maker.
Took us a while, yo.
And my friend who's carnivore, she told me you could just do eggs. So you scramble up eggs in a bowl, and then I put in a little bit of cinnamon and a little bit of vanilla and a teaspoon, or maybe a half a teaspoon, I think it's a half a teaspoon for one big Belgian waffle, of baking powder, and you just mix that really good and put it in the waffle maker, and make sure you use butter to coat it with good, and it makes these big giant Belgian waffles, fluffy, good, delicious. So I make them, and the kids have been loving them. It's basically scrambled eggs, y'all, with a little bit of baking powder in it, and then they drizzle their honey on top of it, and they love having that for like breakfast or dinner. They don't even care. They love their waffles, and it just makes it more fun.
They do.
They were scrambling eggs for the first couple months or more, and I'm like, I think this waffle
And
thing
if you
want to
make them even more incredible, you take the
ice cream,
the waffle mix, and you mix it in there when nobody's looking,
No, you
like
don't.
James did.
Don't do that.
And then everybody's like, "These waffles are amazing." That's because they were
was just
real
his
waffles, y'all.
waffle. He cheated and went in the pantry and put in a little bit of waffle
These are
mix.
amazing.
James, but he got caught.
Thanks, James. You got
So,
busted.
I'm still emptying out the pantry, y'all. But anyway, oh my soul. But what we did, and I have pictures of this for the kids a couple times now, when they come in from swimming at night, I'll make them waffles like that, the carnivore waffles, and then I put the ice cream
It's amazing.
on top, and then I'll put some
Blueberries.
berries
It's
on top of
crazy
it
good.
and drizzle some honey on it
Crazy.
for
You don't even need the honey, y'all. I'm just saying, but
It's
crazy
looks
good.
spectacular.
It tastes amazing.
You had some too. You had
Oh,
a couple
yeah,
bites. Yeah. So that is super fun.
I had a whole one.
And,
it was amazing.
There's really nothing bad in it. I mean, okay, you drizzle the honey. Now, the keto.
You don't need the honey. If you put the blueberries on it, you don't need no honey.
So with the Mojo keto strips we got now, it's $10 for 150.
Yep, and both times I tested myself. So I'm like, I tested it myself the night we got them, and I was 0. And then I was like, oh, you know what I want to do is I want to drink my coffee with my teaspoon of honey, and it looked like it was either 0 or it was right between those first two colors. It was barely noticeable.
Okay.
Which was kind of incredible because, I mean, that's the most amount of sugar I'm going to intake in the entire day is right then. And
now, today, because I had the keto strips, and I've been playing around with it, seeing that if I do a fruit smoothie, will that help to lower my protein intake? And so I've been trying to mix around with that in the afternoons. And I had my fruit smoothie with the keto powder, and so the only sugar, there's no sugar in the powder, obviously, and the only sugar is from the berries, and it threw my glucose and my ketones all the way up to like from a 0 to a 4.0, which is pretty high, y'all, because I think the highest is like 7 or 8. So it like really threw my glucose up. So now that's good that I could see that. So now I'm going to try to figure out, I'll test tomorrow morning when I wake up and see how long does it take for me to get back into ketosis from having that smoothie. And that now I can kind of make a decision too, knowing how it kicks me out of ketosis. Do I want to do
Amanda
that?
Flattery will get you nowhere.
You
Amanda
know.
says we both look like we're in our 20s. It was very generous.
You're so sweet. You're so kind. Yeah, so that's why we got the strips, not to be neurotic, not to drive ourselves crazy.
No, but just to know, right, it's good to know what's either keeping you in or kicking you out. I mean, that's just
Right.
all part of, you know,
Right.
the you know, you're kind of like a mad scientist figuring out what works best for you. And when you have a metric, you know, I couldn't prick my finger and do all the it sucks the
Right.
blood up. Blah, yucky. I'm not doing that. You know, I'm just. It'd be one thing if I was diabetic and I had to check. You know, my dad, before he passed away, he became pre-diabetic and he had to do that mess. But yeah, I'm not down with that. That's just
Yeah, and diabetes also runs on my side of the family as well.
yeah.
And, you know, it was a struggle for my grandmother to keep her diabetes under control to avoid medication for, I mean, years, probably like 20 or 30 years as she was. And it's hard when you have like you're baking cakes and
Oh yeah.
you have, you know, normal food and, you know, so it's just really neat to see to have something that is a metric and to be able to see, okay, am I in ketosis? Is my body using the protein that I'm intaking right now? Can I mix around with the fat? Can I increase the fat? How do I do that? So I'm just kind of learning all of these different things and just kind of playing around with it to see what's going to work just in the day in, day out. If we go on vacation and we want to have a piece of cheesecake and then the next day will be a new day and we'll restart.
Tiramisu.
Cheesecake.
Cheesecake's kind of nasty.
But that'll be the exception to the rule. That'll be the exception. That will not be
Carrot cake.
in the day-to-day. If we want to cheat in the day-to-day, I say you cheat with fruit. If you want to cheat with something, cheat with fruit, cheat with a low glycemic level fruit like berries or something like that. That's not going to totally jack you up, and then get back on track, you know.
Well said, mother.
That's it.
It's
That's all we got.
We're 1 hour, 16 minutes in. We're going to have to bid y'all adieu from the Northeast Piney Woods.
So excited for all y'all that are getting on the carnivore train.
Keep us posted.
Yes.
Let us know your results, how
Please.
you are faring. And, you know, we enjoy hearing all of your successes. And thanks for hanging out, y'all.
Yeah.
And we'll see y'all